Hello, everyone. We are back with another episode of Life and Law, and our special guest today is Hayley. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. And can you just start off by just giving us a little about yourself for our listeners?
Sure. Well, now I'm 37 and I've been a mom since I was 24 and 11 months. I was full-time mom for 10 and a half years, so a decade and a half. And for 4.5 of those years, I was a single mom, and the dad and I shared custody. So I had full physical, and then we shared everything else. And now I find myself after July 8th, 2024, wasn't just an injunction, not a custody hearing or anything. It was an opposing party's injunction. Then all of a sudden I hear, oh, you can't see your children, but we're going to give you every other weekend. That started 2024. Um, and then, you know, it went into it. We're in 2026 and I'm still trying to have an appeal. So a mom without being able to mom in 2 years. And then here I am today.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that you've been dealing with this and all the corruption that's going on. And which state is this happening in?
It's happening in Virginia, and thank you.
Okay, and are you originally born and raised in Virginia?
Yes.
And your ex also is from Virginia?
Yes.
And which county did you guys have your case in with the injunction?
It's Pennsylvania County.
Pennsylvania County?
Hmm.
And who was the judge that was on the case?
Uh, Pamela Melissa Pagans Keen.
And so you said that this all started on July 8th, 2024, because your ex filed for an injunction. Is that how this all got initiated?
It all got initiated because he asked for 50-50 custody. And there were just some things that we needed to go over, but one little perjury sealed the deal. He stated alienation.
So,
That couldn't be proven, so that's why it is a claim.
so at first you had sole custody or full custody?
Full physical when we separated. We were together from 2011 to the end of 2020, and then we had our first ever, while we were separate, custody agreement, and we actually agreed. We actually went to mediation. So I got full physical, and that was 4.5 years, and he got every first, second, and fourth weekend and 3 non-consecutive weeks in the summer. So he had all the proof. I had never alienated them or kept them or took them or didn't send them on visits. It was clockwork. I had everything set up on alarms too. We homeschooled, so we did a Becca Christian Academy, but we did teacher led. So it's considered like not distance learning. When the public schools went to computer, like over COVID and stuff, they considered that like a distance learning. But with the Abeka, it's like satellite. You're in that classroom. They even have live stream. So they were doing that. And then the alarm would go off for them to leave on the Friday to start the dad's, weekend visit time. But with just saying the one claim of alienation, it was all switched.
Okay, so when the two of you were following this agreement for all of those years that you had through mediation, was that submitted to the court and the court signed off on it and made it a court order, or was it just an agreement between the two of you?
Yes, it was done inside of court. And so I had an attorney, the dad had an attorney, and I can't, yeah, there was a guardian ad litem. It was actually the same one that then turned around in 2024. Um, so we all signed, the judge signed, and I didn't file for custody. This was the dad put it in there at the end of 2020, and it was first heard in 2021. And then I also didn't file for child support. And that was also the judge that signed our mediation agreement. Then come back, fast forward to 2024, and we started my 2-year battle now. Have not been able to see or have any meaningful contact with my children. The dad said he didn't feel heard in mediation. You know, he felt like his wants or needs or thoughts or whatever was ignored. You know, he wasn't heard. And I said, okay, well, that's the same thing about the lower family court. You know, I clearly wasn't heard, and evidence I would hold up, you know, if it's contrary to their belief, it was blocked. Deny. We don't care about evidence, you know.
So what are some examples of evidence that you tried to put in, and how did they block it?
Okay, even the fact of how all of my children's school transcripts and records showed healthy, thriving, no problems, no concerns, how all of their doctor records, and I have all of these, and I'm the one that took them to the doctor. You know, if they were with their dad and something happened, he could take them too. I had full physical, he shared, you know, we shared everything else 50-50. And so, but doctor records, full stack, have the whole for both. You know, I don't know, let's see, the stacks about like that for, you know, each paper. Um, no, all of the records showed healthy, thriving children, no problems with me, no issues, no firsthand people coming up and saying, hey, you know, something's wrong or we have concerns. It was all third party. And so I would even, my uncle, who's a dentist, he even wrote, you know, a letter into court. I mean, he's a doctor. So not only is he family, great uncle to them outside of a work professional setting, but he also is their dentist, their doctor in a work professional setting. So he's seen them on both, you know, and he's saying, look, hey, no concerns whatsoever. So, you know, and then I would hold that up and I'm like, no, this is here. And I tried to put this in and, you know, this is evidence to even dispute that claim. And I remember opposing counsel, she laughed that day. She said, ha ha ha, who gets a note from a dentist? That was exactly what the opposing counsel said. And then the judge goes, yeah, who gets a note from the dentist? That's not law. Because, you know,
What did your lawyer say at that
nothing.
point?
I didn't have
Oh, you're pro se.
representation. Yeah. That's when they forced me in because I couldn't get effective counsel. And that's when they just forced me in. I said, no, I'm not, you know, I'm not ready to represent myself and, you know, I have the right to counsel. And they're like, oh, we're not gonna grant a continuance because the opposing counsel said that she wanted to have a trial today. And so the judge said, yeah, you're right. We're gonna have a trial today.
So you requested a continuance to get replacement counsel and they denied it.
Yeah.
And so what date was that on this hearing?
July 8th, 2024.
So that was the same day that this injunction hearing. It was and so in the application, he basically said that you alienated him.
Yes.
And he said this happened one time.
I don't know. It was just written on when he filed for 50-50 custody. It just
But
mentioned.
did he say like she alienated me on multiple occasions, or this was something that only happened once, or like, because wasn't he seeing the kids or?
Yes, he was seeing them. I don't know how many times he claimed it happened. It literally just mentioned it. That's all it had to say was alienation. And they also, like the guardian ad litem, you know, she's supposed to work in the children's best interest. Well, she had said that they only went with him every other weekend. That's completely, hearsay and perjury, because there's documented proof evidence. They went first, second, fourth weekends of every month, so it's like that was every week except for one a month when I got a weekend, because I homeschooled and worked, and it's, like I said, through their school with a teacher. So it wasn't just, parent led and we completely picked everything, ourselves, and just willy-nilly, just, completely free schedule. So like they couldn't believe we were on a time crunch. I'm like, yeah, and I worked too. I worked evenings. So we're talking 6.5 to like 5.5 hour to 7 hour shifts just at night. And it's like, yeah, I do need to sleep too. The people that were doing this in their job, the court people and agencies, they didn't think, I had a schedule. I'm like, yeah, we do have
And
things to
so,
meet.
and so when the GAL was saying that, oh, he only gets so many days with the kids, and then that's not even true, did you try to object or try to correct that and say, no, it was actually this many days? And did they let you speak?
No, they didn't let me speak. And yeah, I did try to say no. And it got to the point where when it was like I was going to be able to cross examine, the opposing counsel was able to say, "Oh no, we don't want to hear this. How long do we have to listen to this, Your Honor?" And then the judge would say, "Yeah, you're right. We're not going to listen to this anymore." I was literally setting the stage because it was showing like they're trying to act like all of a sudden, some life decided to take a criminal path when it's not the case at all. It's a framing when it gets to the point of everything, every piece of evidence that contradicts their narrative, they would not hear it at all.
And to your knowledge, is opposing counsel friends with the judge, or do they have a relationship of some sort with the judge?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How do you know? And how do you know that?
Well, there was a few things that occurred, so I would have to dig to find paper trail of this, but the opposing counsel was able to lie, just stand up and blatantly make a claim that she claimed to have evidence on, never produced evidence, finally got questioned by another attorney, and have printout paper proof of her admitting she just thought her lie was true. So fully admits she did lie, but now she's not claiming evidence on her lie. Now she's just claiming, oh, she just truly believed something. Well, I truly believed, like I said and told you and showed you, that wasn't true, that it was considered true. Just saying it in court. And then the very next year, that opposing counsel was given a judgeship in that exact J&D court. And the
Wow.
very next city over in Franklin County, Virginia, and the very closest city, Danville, Virginia. So yeah, all those 3 courthouses.
And in Virginia, are the judges appointed or elected?
I think they're elected. Let's see, they put it in the newspaper too. So I guess their friends elect them.
But it's not like the people get to vote in the elections for them?
I, I would have to research that harder, but I've never heard of that. I've never heard that people are able, like us or residents are able to vote in judges. Never.
And so on this day of July 8th, so before the July 8th, 2024 hearing, everything was normal. Like there was no problems or anything with the courts. But then after this day, they issued that final order at the end of the hearing?
Well, the trouble kind of happened in 2023. So the year before they were
And what
taken
happened?
on jury.
And what happened in
Well,
2023?
so my daughters, well, children were able to record some abuse that was happening to them. And when they brought it back from their visit, and I heard it, I'll never forget it because it was nighttime. And I had got them in the bed. I hear this abuse audio, and I'm a grown woman, and it made me where I couldn't sleep, and I was super sad for them, and crying and everything. So I was instructed to take it to. They're like, well, if you don't report it, that's you not doing what you're supposed to be
Who said
doing.
who said that?
Well, there was a person who was working saying they were doing advocacy group work, but it's also, they were saying it in like their familial capacity as well. And so when I took it to CPS, there was concerns. It was very concerning. And then I was told, well, you need to take it to the police station. So an actual investigator authenticated it.
So are you saying that somebody that you know that was like an advocate at the time was the one who told you to report it?
Yes.
And then you made a CPS report first
Yes.
before the police got involved?
Yes.
And was this like a physical abuse or sexual abuse or emotional?
It's emotional, psychological, verbal, and it's threats of physical violence.
And so they were able to like secretly record while this was happening
Well,
without
yeah,
being caught?
that's the thing. The opposing counsels and all too, they were trying to say that it was secretive. It wasn't secretive. They know that our children have a cell phone. I paid for it, all of that. The grown-ups over there even broke it before, but my children's grandfather, my dad, he actually bought them a new phone. So it wasn't secret, but yeah, at the time, I mean, what was being done to them, my youngest actually reported that.
And so after the police got involved in CPS, what happened after that?
Well, the investigator said she was highly appalled. She actually spoke to him. She said, all right, now I'm going to go out here and I'm going to put my investigator hat back on and I'm going to, have a good talking to him. And it even says in the report that at the time, the other adult that was just like a dating, so a third party through that, they were calling into the police station the whole time, like demanding our children be released out there to that person. Um, the investigator, it says in her report that she would have went to CPS, but I told her I had went there first. So since I went there, they didn't take it serious. But if the investigator had went to CPS with it, they would have taken it serious. So in 2023, the court did not help because the judge at the time said, oh, I don't have time to listen to your abuse audio. And the guardian ad litem that they put in 2023, he said, yeah, they're just going to say, like, that's like child's play. That wasn't child's play. And then 2024, when they took that guardian ad litem that didn't help and said it was child's play, real authenticated abuse, they put him as the lawyer of my child, court appointed attorney, as they call it, that he didn't protect in 2023. And now in 2024, conflict of interest much. Now he failed as a guardian. Now he is the attorney appointed by the court.
And did you try to file any motions to remove him or any motions to disqualify the judge or anything like that? And were you still pro se?
Yeah, honestly, no, I was trying to get an attorney for like pretty much 2 whole years. Um, have firsthand witness that I was like, this is insane. I'm like, you got to start going with me. So we don't go together. And it's like, this is how, I'm like, you're going to see this too. It's wild. Um, I was trying to get an attorney. I didn't know about every motion that I could file because I did think, oh yeah, if I can get a judge switched. So they're like, I filed the complaints, and they just call it tactics. Oh, if you don't like their tactics. No, I don't like them breaking the law. Has nothing to do about a tactic. Like, let's follow the law here. Um, so I didn't know about trying to have that one removed. I know everything they go on. It's all procedure, it's all paperwork, and you got to try to fit in the square to learn all of those paperworks. So no. But afterwards, when I learned about it, then I definitely want to try to, there needs to be some kind of safeguards there where people know at least what they can file.
So at the end of that hearing, what did the judge say?
At the end of what, July 8th, 2024?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, it was 6 hours of
Six
me.
hour, it was a 6 hour hearing.
Yeah, pretty much when I think about it, it drug out to 6.5 hours because they did 2 breaks. Each break was 15 minutes. Yeah. So 30 minutes out of 6.5 hours.
And so at the end, did the judge give the final orders in court, or did it happen later in writing?
She gave it right there in court, and her exact words were, mm-mm, well, bailiff, hold her in this courtroom until her children are removed from this courthouse.
So, but before
And she
she
did
said
that over the
that,
weekend.
did she say, I'm ordering that now the children will, the injunction is granted, or what did she say before that?
Yeah, she said that temporary order, she is completely switching custody. She thinks that that's in the best interest, and she's going to completely switch custody and the guardian ad litem said that too. She was like, yeah, I think this is in their best interest.
And so she said she was completely switching custody
hmm
because she felt that you alienated the father from the kids.
She never came out and said that she felt like I alienated the father from my children, but yeah, she completely switched everything.
But was that his only argument throughout the hearing?
Yeah, and
Alienation?
then it turned into extra crazy stuff. But then I'm finding out too, they do this a lot.
Like what? What kind of stuff?
Okay, so then it got pushed, then they switched it. They wanted everything to be about mental health. You
So was it,
know,
were they trying to say things about your mental health?
yes, but not only mine, they had pushed it on a child. So they were then branching out and saying a child is suicidal.
And
And
were
it
they
was
trying to say that was your fault or you
yeah,
had something to do with that?
yep. Yes, there was something of a note produced in his home on his time. Never in my home, never on my time, never, never, but it came out of his home. So in her injunction, she was like, and she was screaming very theatrically, this is opposing counsel. And GL jumped in on it and judge jumped in on it. They all got to have, it was like a show, a circus. And I'm sitting there thinking, this is really how they're acting in reality. Like I'm sitting here witnessing all of this. So, um, she said, you made them want to do this. Completely, to me, that's insane. So, yeah, I had to sit there, and they wanted me to sit there and watch all them do all that. And that's it. And they kept saying that they went every other weekend. That's not true at all. If they went every other weekend, he would have only been getting them half the time he was supposed to. You know?
So it sounds like there was a lot of perjury on the record by the GAL and opposing counsel and later the attorney for the minor child. And it seems like maybe there was collusion with the judge. And maybe they took advantage of the fact that you were pro se and they wanted to try to just do whatever they could to get the children, because it seems that once they made that switch, which they said was going to be temporary, that it never
Mhm.
went back, correct?
Correct.
And so they said it was going to be temporary for how long?
Until October. I hear the big months for them to do child things is July and October, and it proved true for me in 2024. So,
And so it was supposed to be from July through October. And then did you go back to court in October?
oh, they drug me back to court like every week, every month, and then it was almost like twice every month. And they kept saying, "Oh, she's doing things," saying, "Oh, gag order, she's speaking," and it's like they're putting crazy lies out there that they're pushing as official and true for the public, which making taxpayers pay for it and everything to say blatant lies, the records being blocked. So I mean, like, the actual real evidence is blocked and it's only fake, just highly elevated, claims like to create like a frenzy, like a hysteria is pretty much like they wrote a book or a story and want to act it out.
So what happened in October?
October was final. They had already ended my every other weekend visits. They had already um, blocked and ended my phone calls.
Oh,
They
wait, why exactly did they take away the calls and the visits?
Okay, so when they took them July 8th, 2024, I got every other weekends. And I was doing that and exercising those rights. Everything's fine, perfect, wonderful. We have witnesses, videos, movies, picture, all of that. Um, Everything's perfectly fine. Then August, I believe it was the last weekend in August that I was supposed to get one of my every other weekend visits. And he's like, "Oh, this is the other adult." He goes, "Oh, there's COVID in our home. We're quarantining." This is July 2024. Okay. So I believe it's even in Virginia. I looked it up. COVID's no reason to keep children from a biological parent, custody wise. So I have that. And then it does lead me to the non emergency police. And then I did tell the truth on this. So I tried to have my court ordered custody visits enforced, and I called non emergency. But then dealing with everything involved and even having those supposed suicide letters that he brought forth, like I said, on his parenting time, in his home, nothing to do with me. Um, I had every right to be concerned. So then when I did call a child hotline, I'm like, what is going on? Because one of the adults, he went to work. Okay, one child is at great grandparents' home. One child's at public school, since that's, where they put them. So I'm like, why are they saying they're quarantining now, but they're not actually quarantining? And then their mom for 10 and a half years and can do all of that. But now all of a sudden, they're saying, oh, well, they've got to quarantine. They got to stay with other relatives, but they can't go with you on your court ordered visitation. So that was in like I said, late August 2024. And they arrested me on that, claiming a lot of police, did not. But supposedly the deputy talked to the firsthand witness that was there. and the deputy told him that since I called the hotline, I made it look bad for their department. So this all could have been avoided. But they arrested me because they were actually having people start to want to look at their department. And they didn't like that I did that.
So what date was it? When you got arrested, what date was it?
It's kind of hard. I think it was in September because on the fraudulent reckless affidavit, it says, and it's completely voidable. It is. So it says that it's from late August. It's weird. It lumps the last week of August with the last week of September. I mean, the first week of September. And it says on or about this date.
On or about this date, what? That you did what?
It's pretty much.
So once you were arrested, how did that impact things with the case?
Oh, that was completely used to then act like I'm some super hardened criminal that I should never be allowed to see my children. So they made sure they didn't give me back my every other weekend visits because they tried to stop them. The guardian ad litem tried to do a 2-year protective order against my children and I.
So they used your arrest as a reason to try to justify taking away time and taking away access.
Yes, the opposing counsel's exact words to the judge was, Your Honor, this woman needs to see the inside of a jail cell.
Wow. And
Yeah.
whatever happened with that arrest, is that case still open?
Yeah, they did. They brought me in there. I had a lawyer that was going to step in, but they conned me to think that just go with the court appointed lawyer and it would be okay. But I was clearly under visible duress. The court appointed lawyer told me, oh, they're not going to allow you to have a trial. They're just going to the judge is just going to automatically say that you're guilty, and then you're automatically going to start serving time. So he said, if you take this plea deal, and I was crying and I was like, well, that's a lie. You know, why would you tell me to do a lie when the truth is I didn't lie to police, you know? And he was like, well, if you don't take it, you're not getting a trial and you're just going to jail. So I was, yeah, conned and under duress to take a plea deal. So I do that.
What exactly was the deal? Well, what did you agree to?
They claimed good behavior. I had to stay on good behavior because the other parties that have my children, they continuously harass me, cuss me, threaten me, call me names, keep blocking phone calls. I don't get to see my children, so they don't want me to speak to them. They say I'm doing bad stuff. They say I'm saying bad stuff, and I'm like, that's not true. And I do have a firsthand witness. The people that saying these things, they're not in my life. They're not firsthand witnesses. And anybody can say anything about anybody they want to. That's the thing, and it doesn't make it true. And especially if they don't have any firsthand access, they're just making claims. But got no kind of visits back, and that's just
Oh,
where I'm stuck today. The good behavior was supposed to be, he says I'm harassing him. They say I'm stalking them. Like all of this stuff that they're saying, I'm supposed to be civil and communicate on the court app. So now the court app's not free. And I'm like, who can sit here and keep, paying that?
and so have you tried to address these issues in court or ask to make modifications based on changes in circumstances like the app being expensive and things like that?
Well, I've been trying to have an appeal for the last 2 years. I did everything lower level. So I've been trying to have an appeal because now they have so much stuff they've just stacked up. They're claiming on the docket. I can't even fix anything, like I'm really blocked from filing everything that I knew how to file, that I learned that I should file. Then I tried it, I filed it, but all of that's blocked too. I've filed things that an attorney can file easy peasy and get it done, but they block mine. And I
When you
do believe
say, when you say they block you, did they
that.
put like a filing restriction where you need to ask permission, or what are they doing to actually block you?
Denying every evidence that goes against all of their contrary. The clerks have hung up on me on the phone. I've gone in, had things filed and stamped, and first-hand witness has seen this too. Then they call me back and they're like, "Oh, you're filing that we stamped? Yeah, we decided we can't use it."
So then what do they do? Do they mail it back to you? Return to sender? They do that to
No,
me.
no, I have a copy and they have a copy. So they just have one sitting there stamped, and I have one from them stamped, and they're just like, "Oh yeah, we can't use this one."
I'll try to file things in my case. I'll have it mailed, notarized. I send it to them, certified, everything. They stamp it, and then they cross out and X out the stamp and mail it back to me in the mail, return to sender. They take all the time to do that, to pay for the postage and all of that, to send it back to me saying, sorry, we're not going to accept it. And half the time it's literally for no reason. And then they put in a filing restriction saying that I can't file anything ever again unless I get permission from the court first. And what do you think they do when I ask for permission? Every time they either say, no, you don't have permission, or they'll be like, oh, we give you permission, but then after we read your thing, we're denying it right now. So it's like denied without a hearing. Or this is the best one. I asked that I did a permission request to file something. They said they'll only consider it if my ex files something to the court saying whether he thinks I should be granted permission. Why is it his choice? Are you kidding me? Like it's so illegal. Like they can't put it in the hands of somebody else to make those decisions when that's the responsibility of the court to make those decisions. Not an opposing party or opposing counsel. Imagine you try to file something and they're like, well, opposing counsel can decide whether or not you can file it. Like they're going to say no, obviously. So it's like, why would you put your adversarial party to have control over your access when you being able to access the court is your First Amendment right? In the First Amendment, it says you have the right to address grievances with the government. So who's the government? The court. What are your grievances? Well, anything that has to do with going to court is your grievances being addressed by the government. And so by them blocking you or rejecting your motions, and then see how they play games. You said they call you on the phone. They call you to say, oh, we're not accepting it. But now there's no paper trail of that. And if you tell them I'm recording you, they're going to hang up on you.
Yeah. Well, I actually did. They have played many rounds with me. I don't know why. And some of the things they say, it doesn't make sense in reality. Again, I'm still trying to remind myself, this is what they're doing in reality. I had to let the clerk know, because I let them know, I'm going to record this call. I'm recording it. And so she speaks on the whole call, and the whole call is about 3 or so minutes long. And then she tells me at the end of the call, well, and since you're recording this call is over. But I already had got her saying they didn't have my address. So I'm like, okay, so you just said that. And I'm like, but you do have my filings. So put them on there. And then she's like, well, what did she say? She's like, well, there's nothing pending on you. I said, I know, because I sent them on this date before that, and you've they've been completely ignored. And that's what I was seeing in yours. I read down yours and I was like, wow. So, they'll grant, oh yeah, we'll say we're going to hear this. Then as soon as you get there, it's like, oh yeah, we're denying that.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And then nothing gets heard. And it's like, then the judge will retaliate. Like if you try to file a complaint on the judge, or if you try to file a motion to recuse or disqualify, they'll start retaliating. And then it's like, then they won't let anybody else touch your case, when the right thing for them to do is to step down from the case. If you know that you have a problem with me, you can't be the judge. You have to step down. Instead, they say, no, we're going to double down and make it so no other judge even touches or looks at this case except the one that I'm saying is biased. So how is that fair? And then it's not fair, because then like they'll even like you go and if I tried to file for a restraining order in the correct county, then they would forcibly transfer it. They would force it to get transferred to the wrong county and say, we're transferring it here, even though no one lives there, no one's connected to that place, and I didn't file it there. So what makes it so that they can then take my stuff and force it to go where the judge is corrupt and refuses to hear it? And then that's what she did. And she said to me one time, she threatened me. She says, I'm going to make it so you can never file a restraining order against Matt again. And then every time I tried to, she would force it to get transferred to her court and then dismiss it without a hearing. So that's the same thing as making it so I can't file one, because if I file and that never gets heard, it's just as good as not being able to file. And she made a comment saying, oh, well, this guy shouldn't have to be forced to get dragged into court to defend himself. What do you mean? Why not? He's terrorizing me.
Like, or they want to drag us in. I feel like I'm not even gonna.
And then it's like, then they'll say something that's a complete lie and get custody. And it's like, in my case, there was allegations of sexual abuse. And I literally stood up in court and said, my daughter said she's being sexually abused at dad's. And the judge says, okay, I'm putting you on supervised visits and dad gets custody now. And your daughter's going to immediately leave. And same thing. She said to me, where's your daughter? I said, she's at school. She goes, okay, well, your ex is going to leave right now and he's going to go pick her up. And then they told him, go get the order from the clerk's office, go pick up your daughter right now. We're going to tell Miss Antar to stay here. And if she tries to come interfere, call the police and you'll have her arrested. Then he goes and gets her. So they literally tell him to leave like 30 minutes early to go get her and make me stay there. And then the whole time they're making me stay there, they're just trying to stall so he can go get her. And it's like, just like with you, when they're like, oh, you're going to wait here. And, like, it's just insane. And I don't think really is. Yeah. And like, I don't think I've talked to too many people from Virginia. Have you spoken to others who have been in a similar situation and with your judge or your county?
I've honestly tried. There is one other that has the same guardian ad litem and the same judge, and close, very, very close to the similar situation, because, the after effect, that is where it hits us personally, what we'd individually do in our families and with our children and things. But what is the same across all, and then that's important too. I don't know many people, so if there are any people in Virginia or with the same, it'd be great to be able to get in touch and have that in the work-ins. But I mean, they're doing the same things across all of these cases pretty much. Like I'm noticing, it's not unique and it's not rare. They use the same tactics. They use if that's what they're calling them, their tactics and their, what do they call it? Discretion. Like they can break the law, but they're like, well, this is my discretion, and that's what they call it. Or procedure. They're saying, oh, this is just how procedure. Okay, well, that's not law. But if they're claiming procedure, backs up the law or protects the law or enforces the law, the procedure can't be corrupt. And and enforce the law.
And then they say that they have immunity. So it's like, okay, not only is it our discretion to do whatever we want and ignore the law, but then when we do break the law, commit crimes and destroy lives, it's okay because we have immunity. So you can't sue us, we can't get in trouble, and we can't lose our job. So imagine if you had a job where you could do whatever you want and there's zero consequences. And there's rules, but if you break the rules, nothing happens. And you probably
Yeah,
even get
'cause you're-
promoted. You might even get promoted for breaking the rules. And nothing happens to you if you break it. Are you going to still follow the rules? And if you do follow the rules, your career is going to be suffering. And if you
right. We
break
won't
the
have as
rules,
many
you'll be
incentives.
rewarded. But then
Yeah,
the people think like, oh, there's rules. It doesn't matter. Like the rules and laws and rights are only so good as your ability to enforce them. And if there's no enforcement, just like with a lot of these court orders, I know that, you know, when I had full custody and everything like that, the orders were not being enforced. Like I would go to the police and say, here's my court order signed by a judge that says that my ex has to bring back my child today at 5 o'clock. It's now 6 o'clock. My child's not being brought back to me. I'd like
Yeah.
to get this order enforced. Please, you know, help me. And what do they say? Oh, sorry, it's a civil matter. Oh, sorry, we can't do anything. You have to go to court. Change it around where it's the dad going to the police saying, oh, here's the order. She's supposed to be back at this time. She's not back. Silver alert, child reported missing, multi-state manhunt, pinging my location. Also, why? Because he said didn't return at the time she was supposed to return. But why is it not a civil matter when it's the man doing it? Or why is it that they love to like arrest the mother and throw her in jail and putting all these crazy bonds and criminalizing us? But when it's the other way around, they're getting away with it. Like I can't tell you how many people have where they either have custody or there's no order and the father just takes the kid and refuses to return him and the police are like, sorry, we can't do anything. But then in the other way around, they're like, oh, you're going to lose your kids now and no access to your children because you
It's
didn't.
not funny, but yeah.
And
No,
it's like,
it's
why is the solution for alienation more alienation? It's like, they'll say like, oh, you alienated the children. Okay, well, now we're going to alienate them from you. How is
yeah.
that fixing anything? It's like so hypocritical.
It's not, and none of this is in the best interest of anyone except for whose pocketbooks are getting fatter. And I tell you, that's the people who get up every day, get ready for work, and that is their job to rip apart families. And you know, I'm not even sitting here saying that it's all about personal vendettas. I'm sure some of them feel something personal, but I almost feel like it's even like working at a tire shop, like they're just changing tires, you know. The parents or the cases, or they're just like, yep, just get that tire, just get it on, get it off, get it on out of here, you know. It's also like that. So, but this is how they're making their money. We know what they're doing all across the board is pretty much the same. Like none of these cases are popping up where it's like, oh, it's so unique, you've never heard of this before. Now it's becoming, hey, let's compare, because they're playing the same fake mental illness. None of them have a license to practice medicine, but yet they're out here pointing finger going, oh, you're this, you're that. Oh, so our claims are true, you're wrong. Now everything you say is a lie. We're taking your children, you're losing them, you're not getting anything. You must comply. You must use our systems. Their systems are showing they're going to break the law against you in that room. The rest of their systems are weaponized too. It's not going to be, oh, it's corrupt at the top and then branch out and just do this, jump through this hoop, jump through that hoop, and use our people. I went to an independent psychologist. I'm like, I've had enough of their crazy reign. I went to an independent one. I'm like, I'm actually really tired of this. And I told him too, it's even in my report. Like I do mention, I'm really tired of, you know, what they're doing and everything that they keep saying. And, you know, they keep trying to like gaslight a person into telling them they have something wrong with them. I get cussed out by the perpetrators and then they tell me I'm sick. And I'm like, I don't go around cussing people out. How am I sick? You know, their words speak more about them than it does about me. But we've just got to figure out how to combat what they're doing across the board with everything they branch off in and say and do.
So now I know we talked about, you know, after the arrest, it kind of made things escalate with your case. And then you said once that October came around, they then turned around and just said, okay, well, now instead of terminating this injunction, we're making it permanent.
Yes.
And so now does it last forever, or is it like 5 years, or
You know what?
just says permanent?
Yep. It's just the
And,
permanent order, and it
and
says that they are his children.
and so exactly what does it say you can't do?
I can't do anything. I can't have access to their school. I can't have access to their medical. I can't see them. I can't speak to them. If the dad wants to end the call, it's his discretion. You know, if they don't want to answer it, it's his discretion. So pretty much I get nothing except for them to still have my name on the docket, or they put more fraudulent voidable orders and things, claims. That's what they all are. It's claims. And who's making these claims? Is it the state making these claims? And who's hearing this claims and who's enforcing these claims? Is it the state? And who's creditor, like who's getting paid for this? Is it the state? Kind of,
And so,
you put it together.
and so basically, well, how old are your kids right now?
My oldest just turned 12 and is about to be 12 and a half this year. And then my youngest is about to turn 10. So it's been 2 complete years
And
since.
were you married or you weren't married?
I was not married when they took my children from me, but I finally, after all of their corruption and making me lose my job, then get let go of another job, I finally was able legally get my job, get me a job. That was great. This all stemmed after the false arrest, and then the next false arrest in J&D saying criminally broken order because I shared about what's being done.
So wait, so
And
hold on. So you were never married though, or were you?
not, no, I was not married before. No.
Okay, so this whole thing wasn't divorce. It was only custody and the injunction and
Yeah.
everything related to custody. So tell me about the second arrest. When was that?
The second arrest was mixed in after they said that I lied to police when I was trying to have my order enforced.
What day did you get arrested, and was it by a warrant?
Honestly, it's hard. I would have to really pull out the paperwork. It's hard to remember just offhand, like right this second.
Or do you
But I
remember
know it was
what month it was or what year or around approximate?
yeah, for the one for the fake, when they lied and said that I lied to police, when they did that one, that was in September of 2025. Then they did another one too before they set the permanent order where they claimed I broke the order criminally. So also they're saying it's a civil court, it's family court, it's civil, but then they're going to say, oh, you did something criminally in here in a civil court,
Yeah, and I
where
feel like
you still can't have any protections or rights.
yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that is when you can go to civil court or family court and get a restraining order, and then in many states, like Connecticut included, if you violate it, it's a felony. It's a criminal charge, and it's an automatic felony charge with a 5-year prison sentence, max sentence. So it's in some states it's not a crime, but it sounds like in Virginia it is, right?
I mean, they haven't said anything's a felony, but they're saying everything else, and it is absolutely crazy.
Like it's a
So,
misdemeanor.
so I legally was working finally after everything, every lie, I had to get through all of that. Then I met my now husband, and then I got another job, and then we legally married, and then we decided to legally move. So I haven't been living in that state for pretty much a year now. Like this wasn't something, oh, I just all of a sudden, I packed up and got on the lam. Like that's crazy. Plus I've been in contact with the court. I've tried to even have remote access. They are literally denying me access. Like, can't we just set it up where there's a hearing, go ahead and have it?
So
Um,
you're talking about the criminal cases with this, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about everything they've spawned off of it, saying that I'm still waiting for an appeal. Like I hit every mark that I was supposed to hit with timelines to file an appeal. So I've been blocked and denied and dismissed everything in the lower courts in that county in Virginia. And that's pretty much like exhausting state remedies is what they call it. So then I filed in the Supreme Court. I'm like, well, I'll just take it to the highest court. That's where I should take it. We filed everything into that, and they sent it to the higher appeals court. So I wasn't late on the timeline. It's when the Supreme Court sent it to the appeals court and when the appeals court actually got it. So now I'm trying to see too, and I hope it'll take care of everything that's fallen off. I'm waiting to see if they're going to let me actually get the record and get a rehearing to actually have an appeal.
So it sounds like you're still trying to file whatever you can to continue to try to fight back against whatever orders were issued without due process or not following the law and ignoring evidence. And right now you're hoping to get some relief from the appellate and higher courts.
Yeah, I am. And it's made me lose so much faith and so many others because our case, that's what I'm saying. Our cases are not unique. They're doing this all across the board. It's nationally, it's globally, and it's real. It's really being done. And, some people don't know until you get into it, but you don't want to believe it, but this is reality. This is what they've made into reality. So yeah, just still trying to get everything I can do because I'm not running. I'm not, what they say, but
Yeah. And like after a certain point, it's like you need to be able to also live your life separate
yeah,
from that of your children. And I think it's so hard, especially as mothers, because we carry our kids and it's like we're literally physically attached to them for so long where this bond develops. And then when we lose access to our children, it's like such a big loss and you feel so hurt and you lose your identity because you say, okay, well, I'm a mother and this is who I am. And then now it's like, how are you a mother when your children are taken away and they're still alive, but you're still mourning the loss? And so all these complicated emotions come out. And I think that a lot of times people fall into depression and they feel guilty if they remarry or have more children or try to just start over fresh somewhere or anything, even to be able to go out with friends. People will say, oh, well, you don't look like somebody fighting for your kids. Well, what are you doing going out? You should be sitting home crying. And it's like you need to be able to also prioritize, your own health, mental health, well-being, and being able to do self-care and things like that, because you can't show
yeah,
up as a good mother if you're struggling with all those things. And so I think it's good that you were able to sort of kind of get a fresh start and find love again and all that stuff. And I think more people should still prioritize doing things like that because it's so hard going through this alone and everybody needs support. And
yeah,
it's good to have somebody by your side that's there for you and not going through all of this just, without anybody. So, and do you
right.
think that maybe the court realizes that they don't really have much of a case and that all of this is fraudulent and that's kind of why they're not really pushing back so much? Because if they wanted to, they could probably, say you didn't show up to court and issue warrants and things like that. But do you think that they're probably just more so leaving it at a standstill because they know that they're wrong and they don't want to continue to put their crimes and fraud on the record since they know you're also appealing?
I mean, honestly, I don't think they care about anything. I really do see it too. Like I'm saying, there can be an element of like their personal, but I really think it's just regulation. Like they're just in there going, oh, what names are on these dockets? What can we make a case out of? What can we keep going? What's gonna keep bills flowing through here? What's gonna keep our revenue? I really feel like a lot of it is that they're just going to keep putting things on there that they know is fraudulent. I mean, when you have the clerk hanging up and they're telling you and they're letting little things slip and slide, and then, I mean, you're seeing fractures, in their facade, and when there's enough of them, you're like, yeah, it's not adding up. You can't sit here and pretend that this all adds up when it doesn't. And I
Yeah.
mean,
And I think you've seen a lot of, especially like, isn't Virginia a Commonwealth state?
yep.
Yeah, in all these Commonwealth states, you see a lot of this corruption, and a lot of these states are like, they were around, and some of these towns and counties were around before the US was even a country. So it's
Mhm.
like, they go way back with being able to control things and
Mhm.
have this unchecked power, that then it's like, okay, 200 years later, now all of a sudden there's these laws and this constitution and all this. They don't need to follow that. That's what they think,
Yeah.
So I think it's good that you're speaking out and exposing what's going on, because it seems like, is it like a small county?
Oh yeah, it's super small. Actually, that town, it's in Chatham, Virginia. Like you and a buddy could go stand on opposite sides of town and you could roll a marble. It could come all the way through town and you could get it. This is how small it is, but the county is big. It's one of the largest counties in Virginia, and I mean, it's awful. They're actually about to get supposedly a data center. So, that's horrible, and environmentally that's horrible.
Wow.
Um, they have a $188 million budget to build a new jail because their jail is way overcrowded, like 50% overcrowded. So they want to build a new one, taxpayers' dime. They're going to get it from the taxpayers, people that have committed real crimes, and people they frame, so innocent. That's how they're going to get it. And to also build a new courthouse and to renovate the original courthouse because it was built in, like, I don't know, 1853 maybe.
So
But yeah,
now they're going to have two courthouses.
yeah. Don't they need
They
it?
need
Come
it because
on.
there's so much fraud that they can't do it in one. They need a second courthouse for all the fraud. And it's like, just these
Yeah.
projects alone, like these renovation projects, like these are also ways that they money launder and do like embezzlement. And like, if you see, okay, well, which company is getting the contract to build that courthouse? It's
Yeah.
probably somebody that's friends with the judge or friends with the governor or whoever. There's
Mhm.
a lot of connections when it comes to these people who get these contracts.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's like, then it's any
Even
excuse to spend money, and it's like, here's another $100 million. Go build this. It only costs 20 million to build it, and then the rest of the 80 million goes in their pocket.
mhm.
You
Oh,
know,
another thing about that area is, so not everyone in Pennsylvania County is on Danville Utilities, but the ones that live in a certain location of it, but a large portion of the county, they're on Danville Utilities, and theirs is some of the highest in the nation. So I'm like, yeah, they're running out of taxpayer dollars because they're dwindling people out. Even people that are on a fixed income. Someone that worked all their life and they're retired now, and say they're on medications too. You can hardly, they can't really afford to live there and keep what they've had. And it's like all the property taxes and all too, that's so much revenue they're getting. And to go up on people, and it's like, you really don't own anything, like, here, let me pay you for you letting me use my personal property. Thank you. you
it's crazy.
know
Not to mention all this lasting psychological damage they're doing to the kids.
Mhm.
And there's no research out there of what happens when kids are forcibly removed from their mother at a young age and then forced to go no contact completely. And we're not talking about, oh, dad gets custody and now mom gets visitation. This isn't what they're doing. They're literally cutting off one parent completely and making it virtually impossible for that parent to continue having a relationship without jumping through hoops and having to settle for a phone relationship with your own kid, if that.
Yeah.
And then it's like with you, then they cut off that too, or they make it
Yeah.
so you can control it. That's like with me. I never know if or when I'll be able to talk to my kids. And it's like
Mhm.
so stressful because it's like the court should say, hey, here's a schedule. You get to talk to your child every night at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Then the child knows to look forward to it. They're expecting it. You're looking
Mhm.
forward to it. Like you can actually feel okay knowing like, okay, well, this is something the routine. I know what's happening. I'm not going to sit there and say like, oh my God, am I ever going to see her again or talk to her again? And I don't know when, and then just start spiraling. So they do this on purpose and they want to wear you out. They want to make you go crazy.
Yeah.
So then they can point the finger and say, look, I told you she was unstable. And so it's
Yeah.
like trying to show that you're stable and able to keep being perfect like they want is like impossible, because then it's like, who's going to be so stable and perfect when they lose their kids? It's like, if you are, you're a sociopath and you have no emotions because you don't care about anything.
Yeah.
And then they use it
I
against
mean,
us.
the exact way that is easy to describe, and this was even talking to trauma-informed individuals, they're like, pretty much what they did, they took a completely stable they're taking stable lives and they're destabilizing them. De destabilizing them because it's like, say you have 2 legs and they're like, "Okay, you have to run this race." And so you're like, "All right, so great, I'm gonna start out on this race. So let's just get it over with." But then they're like, "But wait, wait." And they take one of your legs and then they're like, "You came in here with 2 legs. We took one, but still, hey, go run that race." Come in and completely injured, turned around, destabilized, pretty much, yeah, destroying.
Then,
And
then
all
after
these
they then
lives.
after
And
they take off one leg, then they say, okay, now we're gonna light you on fire, finish the race. Now we're going to chop your head off, finish the race. And it's like
yeah,
you keep making it until they're like, okay, put you in jail. Like,
yeah.
are you finished the race? Now go to jail. Don't collect $200. Pass
Yeah,
go.
don't go through.
Pay
Right.
$200 in child support and go straight to jail. And if you can't afford
Yeah.
it, too bad. You're going to sit in prison, even though the Supreme Court of the United States said it's illegal to do a debtor's prison. It's illegal to put someone in jail because they can't pay a debt, but they do it every day in child support.
Yeah. And that's why I filed in the Supreme Court, because I was like, if that's the law of the land, the highest court, what they're supposed to follow the law, I'll just file there. And they literally saw everything but said, "Oh, well, we're just going to take it upon ourselves to send it to the higher appeals court."
So you
So,
sent it to the U.S. Supreme Court and they
yeah.
sent it to the highest appeals court in Virginia.
Yeah.
And then that court never answered yet.
They did. They said that they dismissed it because they're claiming I didn't cite the record. They won't give me the record. They won't even give me transcripts. They wouldn't give me anything that they said. I would love to have every single word that was ever spoken. And they act like it's not recorded. It is. I sat in that room. There's 2 little triangles up on either side. They are cameras. There are people with phone recording devices. There's the little woman with the computer.
Yeah, so
Like,
they have like a court reporter stenographer that's typing the whole time,
they
right?
do. I
And
want
and so
that.
is it like you can just order the transcripts and you have to pay, or do you have to get permission to get them, or you don't know?
I I have no idea. I've tried to get them. I've asked for them. I have email. I have over the phone. I have in person. I paid for what they considered was the record. It's just their service papers. It's nothing. Um, I didn't get any transcript. I think it was like 109 or like $119, but no. So I've asked after the higher appeals court, which got it from the Supreme Court, after they denied my appeal this year in 2026. So it's 2 years. Then they sent that I need to cite the record. So I sent in for I filed for a hearing to let me have the appeal for them to force the lower court to give the record so I can cite the record because the lower court is withholding while they're still stacking a docket. They're typing stuff. My husband and it blows our mind when we look at it. We're like, wait a minute. Like I'm telling you, I was legally working, paying my taxes, doing what I needed to do, able to get married. I went into a courthouse to get married. Like, are you kidding me? Acting like I didn't do all of that stuff legally. And now they're backdating their docket, saying all this stuff back even last year. And my husband and I are watching it pop up in real time, going, what are they actually saying? Like, what are they actually trying to do?
Wow. Well, unfortunately, your story, as you know, is not unique. And this is just one of the many ways that they do their little dirty tricks. And I've talked to so many people from all over the country, and each story is unique because there's details that are specific to each family and each case and each person. But the overall themes keep repeating. The
Yeah.
injunctions, like how do they get the kids away? Emergency hearings, injunctions, restraining orders, false arrests, perjury. It's like, take your pick. It's going to be one of those 6 options of how they do it. And so it's
Right.
like, or they might just have somebody, the person just refuses to return the kids. And that happens a lot too, where somebody will say, okay, look, you have the kids, don't give them back when it's time. And then they try to involve the police and the police won't do anything. So that's another common way that people will get their kids taken away. And then they'll say, oh, well, they've been with the other parent for 2 months, 3 months. Now that's their new home. So you can just go to supervised visits or reunification. And then it's down the pipeline of programs and this, and then all of it is with money it's attached to these federal grants and these funding incentives. And it's like, if I said, okay, every time I sign up somebody for this supervised visit program, my nonprofit gets an extra 10 grand, I'm going to sign up as many people as I can, whether they need supervised visits or not. And I'm just going to keep doing it as much as possible. That's what they're doing in a simplified sense. So
Right.
I think it's good that you are sharing, especially because you said, you don't have too many people that personally that have dealt with the same judge in court. But if there's people out there in Virginia and dealing with a similar situation in these courts, is it okay if they reach out to you? And what's the best way for people to contact you if they want to talk?
Well, I do have, if they're on social media, I have that. I have the Facebook.
And on Facebook, what's your name on there, just so people can find you?
It is under Hayley Howard.
Okay. And so people are, if anything you said resonates, people can feel free to send you a DM or add you as a friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And is there anything that you want, anything else that you want people to know, or, the audience to take away from this?
Well, yeah, I would just like to share, keep hanging on because we do see that there's a lot of laws being broken. There's a lot of violations being done. There's a lot of protections that are not being protected. Fraud, so much fraud up on the courts, and it's happening at a rate where it's just so exponential. But, keep the faith, keep trying to be strong. God does hear us, and God does have his children down here, and he knows who are, and he will help. And like praying every day, like we were talking about, whether you're a mom or a dad going through this, they try to make it like where you can't be a mom or a dad anymore, but we still do get up every day and pray. And like, you're mentioning about taking care of yourself, taking care of your mental health. And because, we don't need a bunch of people out here trying to do what they call witch hunts. Everybody needs to mind their own business when it comes to that. And we, don't have to let them push us over the edge. And they claim it's all procedure and paperwork. Let's figure out the right procedure and paperwork to get it all handled and handle everything that's coming through that.
Absolutely. Well, it seems like you're doing a good job just continuing to take it day by day. And I know it's not easy, especially not having any contact or very limited. And I know it's hard with a lot of things like, birthdays, graduations, Mother's Day, this, that, and all the holidays. And every time it's like it hurts. But like you said, continuing to just focus every day on self-care, taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, having good, positive relationships and friendships and supportive people around you and surrounding yourself with support can make all the difference. And if you ever do have a court date again in Virginia, then maybe if you can get a Zoom hearing, you can get a bunch of people to watch and be witnesses, and maybe the court will do things a little smarter if they know people are watching. But and then at the end of the day too, it's like our kids won't always be children forever, and they'll always be our kids. And it's like, think about how much of your life happened after you turned 18. It's like your life is just starting, and you need your parents then even more, because you're going through so many changes in life and stuff like that. So it's not going to be forever. Even if they try to make it forever, there's going to be a day when we see our kids again. And so that we have to make sure that we are going to show up as happy and healthy and stable and able to take them when that day comes.
Yeah, and whole and exactly who we've always been with them, not us not lose that. And yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. All right. Well, I want to thank you again so much for coming on and sharing your story. And if anybody out there wants to connect with Hayley, you can reach out on Facebook or drop a comment, and I'll make sure to connect you guys. So thank you so much, and best of luck, and we'll stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you again for having me.
No problem. Thank you so much. Okay.
Awesome.